Hello everyone, this is Rich, and we're continuing the series here, and so we're going to create our first link over to the new show route that we created. So remember, we're on posts 5 here, that's the first post. So we want to go ahead and make this link. So this is where, let's go on back to our awesome chart here, and this is the first time we're going to actually use one of our helpers. So this is how we're going to reference specifically, even though it's not listed here, we're going to do a get posts /1 to go to the controller action of show, and we're going to use a helper to do that. So let's go ahead and we'll go into our index. And so we want to turn this output of the title into a link. And so we can actually do that. We're already embedding Ruby code here. So let's just go ahead and create the link to helper. Then the first argument of link to is whatever you want inside the text. So it can be, click me, but in this case, it's actually going to be the post title. That's actually what we want the link to be. Then our second argument is going to be, it's actually running what's called the URL for method, which expects something like a named route helper. So in this case, let's go ahead and look at what is the current route. So you can always run rake routes from your console to see what routes exist in your application, and we have just the 2. Now in this case, you notice here it says prefix. So when you run rake routes, it's giving you the prefix of the helper, the helper here posts path. So you have to add _path to this prefix that's shown in here. So it's a little confusing, but just always think of adding _path when you see this prefix. Now, notice it doesn't have one on the second line, and that's just because it's actually the same as the second line, as the first line rather. So posts _path right now is the same thing, and this is actually a problem because they're both gets, and so if you send in posts _path both times, there can be some confusion there. It might work, but in the end, what we actually want to do is we want to use a pattern that's very common in Rails and give a different name to our route here. And you can do that with the as option, and we're just going to say as post. So we want to actually create a singular prefix instead of the plural. And as you can see now I've done that, I've got this prefix. So that now means that post _path will get me to this route. The other important thing is that when a route has this :ID, and don't get it confused with this format thing in the parentheses. That is another whole beast that could be covered in another video, but just ignore that completely, everything in that parentheses, and just think about what comes before the parentheses. So the :ID here means that you have to actually send in that information in your helper. So what do I mean by that? Let's go into our index link, and so we're going to send in post _path, and that is actually illegal right now because it is expecting a variable. It's just like any other method that is expecting an argument. There is no argument being provided. So if we do that right now and we refresh, we're going to get a URL generation error because it's saying that no route matches because it's missing the required key. This :ID is a required key. So we have to actually send that in as an argument to the method. And so it's actually just looking for that numeral, that ID. So if we send in 5 right here, then that would work, although that will only send in 5 on both links. So again, we need this to be dynamic. Well, we have the individual post that we're iterating through each time, so we can send in that object, and we could send in post.id, and that will fetch us the post ID number. And when we do that, now we can see that this link is going to 5, and this link is going to 6, and then if I click it, it goes to the first post, click to the second, go to the second post. Now, Rails has another little thing that it likes to do as a little shortener. If you're sending in an active record model, then you don't have to send in the ID. It just knows, okay, you've sent in an object type that I recognize, so I will fetch the ID for you. Don't even worry your little head about sending the ID in. So you can see that by removing that, we still get the same behavior. So that's all there is to it, and that's why I do see a lot of people getting those URL generation errors, and they don't understand what's going on. And it's like, again, link to is just a method. Just as before I showed with the strange syntax cleaning up, you know, really you've got a method, you're sending in one argument, and that is the actual text of the link. And then your second argument is you're sending in your named route helper, and that in itself needs its own argument, which has to be the ID of the post object that we are sending in. So that is just as legal with or without the extra parentheses around it. Now note that we do need the parentheses around this one, because it does get, Ruby can't be quite so clever as to know, okay, you've got already one set of parentheses around here that I'm just going to assume is there. But now if I was to do this, well, it's creating a lot of things with, you know, what does that actually mean? I do believe that will break, yeah. So it needs the parentheses around it that attaches it as an argument to this specific method, but we don't need the other outer parentheses for the outer method. And you can see we're still working there. So that was it. We created our show route, and we created a link to our show route, and it's a dynamically created link that is looking specifically at each post object.